Hi, Jessica.
Say hi.
You want to do me a favor? Let's see. You see that little plastic bag on the easel?
You see that
Can you
over
get
there?
that for me? There's some tape in there. You know how you have the red ribbon ceremony?
Oh, right. Are they going to cut it?
That's cute. Whoops. Here, let's get that up. Clayton, you want to ask did your mom tell you what to do? Oh, it's perfect. You want to ask me we have that. You know what? Sometimes it's better to go around the other way.
Why don't we get a lot of scissors? Why don't we get a lot of scissors and everyone's cut?
How about getting me one? One scissors and get the phone down.
About this big. Or one of these big.
Oh, yeah.
That they have at
Yes, this is big, so the biggest one we get.
my kindergartens are now through the blind.
They're going for the blind. Maryland and I can't know. They have the stars all over the world. We get the acorn you get free. The star you gotta buy. Oh. So I buy it.
My name is Rose Dunn. For those of you who I have not had the good pleasure of meeting, I'm now the principal of Round Meadow, and it is just really exciting to see so many people here today for this very special event. We've had the opportunity of watching the garden grow, and we're really excited about the potential that it has for all of our students here. We'd like to, just before we begin, introduce a couple of our special guests who are here, and Ms. Lamptey will introduce many more after I'm done, but we'd like to thank Dr. Patrick for coming today. Thank you very much. And our school board, from our school board, Judy Jordan is here today. Thank you for coming. Is there anybody I missed back there? And John Zimmering. Dr. John Zimmering is here as well, so thank you for coming today. We appreciate that. Today is one of the very special principal days where I get to help celebrate that had to do very little of the work. So I'm going to turn it over now to the person who really spearheaded this project. And while she may have retired, she didn't retire from this project at all and has been working very hard on it, and that's Ms. Renee Lamptey.
Thank you, Rose. I was so calm before. I just want to say, wow, what a crowd. It's my distinct pleasure and privilege to welcome you all to this very special occasion, the dedication of the Marsha Fayne Reading Garden. Although it was only exactly 1 year ago, I think today, I retired from the Las Virgen School District, I continued to maintain a relationship with Round Meadow, as my commitment was to work with this wonderful committee to create this lasting tribute to one of Round Meadow's finest teachers, Marsha Fayne. And at this time, I would like to introduce, for those of you who may not have met, the Fayne family. Thank you very much, Mr. Peter. Peter Fayne, Marsha's husband. Ricky Fayne, Marsha's daughter, and Peter's daughter. And Corey, who came all the way from Northern California to be with us today. Corey Fayne, please stand. We're so happy that all of you could be with us today. During the 1998-99 school year, many Round Meadow parents, students, former students, staff members, colleagues, relatives, and friends generously donated to the Marsha Fayne Reading Garden. The Round Meadow PFA was a major contributor, and we thank all of you. In our audience today are several members from Temple Adat Elohim. Would you please stand if you're from that temple? I hate to single you out, but I think we should have people know that you're here. Thank you for coming. Last year, the temple made a major contribution to our fundraising efforts, and I'm very pleased to acknowledge and thank them personally. And I'm so happy that you're able to join us today. Now I'd like to introduce our esteemed original committee members who worked on the project. And would you stand again, Peter Fayne, Ricky Fayne, Catherine King. Where's Catherine? Where is she? She better be here. Michael Kalla, Janet Dahl, Bobby Horowitz, Robin Davidson, Fran Graham, Carol Chase, and yours truly. Thank you, all of you. Thank you. Did I miss anyone on the committee? If I did, I apologize. You got to come up here. Is she hiding? I guess I do. Catherine King is a woman who listened carefully to all the members of the committee and created a design that was reflective of our feelings and thoughts about Marsha and what this lasting memorial ought to be. And I think you will agree when you do see it, if you haven't already, that her conceptual design was extraordinary. Once we had consensus, we needed someone who had the talent, the creative abilities, and the know-how to take the design and make it a reality. My dear friend Michael Kalla of R.H. Wells Design voluntarily, Michael, will you stand please, voluntarily accepted the challenge over a year ago, and as project manager, he worked with district personnel and contractors to ensure Michael collaborated very closely with Catherine and offered many creative, innovative, and constructive suggestions to fine-tune the design and make it work for us. I'm deeply grateful for the countless, I'll say that again, countless volunteer hours he has contributed. He assures me he will continue to do so until we can finally say it's completed. I don't know what I'm going to pay for it, but no, he's a good guy. Michael also worked very closely with district personnel from the Las Virgenes maintenance operations and grounds crew, and we thank you all for your support and assistance. I know Ted Maddock is here. Ted, stand please. Thank back Tim Hoyt. And our wonderful sprinkler guy, I don't know what we would do without Terry Sherman. He was here yesterday. And thank you, Terry, so much. Couldn't have done it without you. I would also like to acknowledge someone who is not here today, Bruce McClendon. He was head of our grounds crew. And unfortunately, Bruce passed away over a month ago. He offered many good suggestions which we incorporated, and I'm truly sorry that he's not here to see the garden. I know he would have been very pleased. Well, we're very fortunate that Michael hired very competent contractors who we could count on to provide not only quality, but fine workmanship within a very short time frame. And these gentlemen must be acknowledged for their generosity and contributions to the success of the project. Steve Apley, Steve here? I didn't see him. He is from Durango Designs. He's a building contractor. Umberto Olmes, he's landscape and sprinkling installations. He was just wonderful, working like yesterday till about 3:30. Gary Kachoyan, he's here today. Quality vinyl products. You'll see the beautiful arbors that Gary created for us. Green Thumb Wholesale Nursery was wonderful in donating quite a bit for us. And yet to come, it's not there yet, so we have a substitute in its place. We have a beautiful pedestal with an open book coming, and this was a gift from the Round Meadow staff. And in it will be described something that I will read to you. And now, it's my great pleasure to give the mic out of my mouth and introduce someone who was a student at Round Meadow School and now is attending AUA, and he was one of Marsha Fayne's students, Warren Doyle. Will you come up, please, Warren?
Hi, my name is Warren Doyle. 5 years ago, I was lucky enough to have Miss Fayne as a teacher. She's not only a great teacher, but an inspirational person as well. While she was teaching us, there was never a moment she felt she was battling cancer. She was motivational and always found a way to keep us interested in what we were doing. She would pick assignments that would keep us. She would pick assignments that were challenging, but not intimidating. And the assignments would be fun too. I remember one time she brought dad lists for all of us to do, and we were laughing the whole time. She was energetic and was constantly looking over her shoulder to offer a word of advice. She was quite frankly one of the best teachers I've ever had. The thing that amazes me the most about this wonderful lady is that she managed to inspire and motivate us while she was fighting her own battle. I remember my mom telling me that Miss Fayne was very sick, but it never really clicked. I would look at her and see nothing wrong with her at all. She had so much energy and enthusiasm that I could not understand what my mom was talking about. Never once did she show any signs of anything holding her back. Her dedication has helped me and countless other students become better students and better people. This is why she's one of the best teachers I've ever had. Some of the best times I had in Miss Fayne's class is when she would read books to us. She would have us sit down and read for varying amounts of time. Behind lunch and recess, these were my favorite times of the day. I remember her reading the books was very relaxing. I also remember the class and I would always beg her to read more every time she told us that she would read more tomorrow. Reading was probably the thing she emphasized most in her class, and that's what's great about this reading garden. The teachers can bring their students into this garden and read to them, just as Miss Fayne had done with us. The students can relax and beg their teacher to let her read more to them. Miss Fayne can now be remembered and her garden enjoyed by future generations. A big thanks needs to be handed to all the people who contributed to making this garden happen.
And now I would like to invite someone who we are very fortunate to have today, Carol Chase. Carol was a parent volunteer in Marsha Fayne's class, and she will share some insights with you. I'll share one insight. It's Warren's mom.
When I think of Marsha, I have two images that come to mind, and one is from when I worked in her class trying to correct papers for her. And I say trying because usually when I was in her class, she was reading to the students. And I would try very hard to block it out so that I could get those papers done. And usually within about 3 minutes, the papers were forgotten, and I was listening to The Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing or to Island of the Blue Dolphin. And then she would stop after every couple of pages and ask the students questions. And I struggle not to raise my hand to respond. And usually happily celebrate when I had an idea that was similar to some of the ideas that were shared by the students. A couple of times I remember she caught me. She'd glance over and she'd barely conceal a smile, which would make me feel guilty. I'd try to go back to grading the paper. I was not nearly as efficient as I should have been in her class, but then again, it was her fault. She also, the other thing that I think about with Marsha is that she really defined herself as a teacher. I remember her giving the students the example of the important poem by giving one that she wrote for by herself for them to look at. And the beginning and ending line was the important thing about Marsha Fayne is that she teaches. She she wasn't just a teacher. She was a compulsive teacher in the way many people can be called compulsive eaters or compulsive gamblers. She could not stop teaching. In the years after my son was in the class, we would occasionally get together. And I knew every time I saw her for lunch, I would learn something. She'd be sharing pictures of her trip to Ireland, and I would learn about Ireland. She could not stop teaching. And for me, that makes it so appropriate that this garden, which you've all made possible, is a place where the Round Meadow students will be able to continue learning. The teachers can continue teaching, and they can all read together and hopefully have some good time. Thank you very much.
She's been at Round Meadow for a long time and knew Marsha. She also served on the committee and is a co-PSA president, Fran Graham.
Since this is a reading garden, I chose to read something, which I'll follow with a couple of remarks about Marsha. The title of this piece is called One at a Time. It's written by Jack Canfield and Mark Hansen. A friend of ours was walking down a deserted Mexican beach at sunset. As he walked along, he began to see another man in the distance. As he grew nearer, he noticed that the local native kept leaning down, picking something up, and throwing it out into the water. Time and again, he kept hurling things into the ocean. As our friend approached even closer, he noticed that the man was picking up starfish that had been washed up on the beach, and one at a time, he was throwing them back into the water. Our friend was puzzled. He approached the man and said, "Good evening, friend. I was wondering what you were doing." "I'm throwing these starfish back into the ocean. You see, it's low tide right now, and all of these starfish have been washed up onto the shore. If I don't throw them back into the sea, they'll die up here from lack of oxygen." "I understand," my friend replied, "but there must be thousands of starfish on this beach. You can't possibly get to them all. There are simply too many. And don't you realize this is probably happening on hundreds of beaches all up and down this coast? Can't you see that you can't possibly make a difference?" The local native smiled, bent down, and picked up yet another starfish. And as he threw it back into the sea, he replied, "Made a difference to that one." Marsha Fayne made a difference to a lot of people's lives in a lot of different ways. She started the Reading Buddy program. She was instrumental in the formation of Peacemakers. She was a respected colleague, and she was one heck of a great teacher who had a passion for reading and shared that passion with her students. Although my children never had Marsha Fayne as a teacher, they were all touched by her. Ian still remembers with great pride who his reading buddy was and how he helped him. Clayton and Emily are proud members of the Peacemakers program. Marsha made a lasting impact on my children, especially my oldest daughter, Chelsea. Chelsea admired Marsha's courage in the worst of times. Marsha always had a smile on her face and a love of life. Chelsea also admired Marsha Fayne's love of reading. Word does spread around students. When a group of parents and faculty were trying to think of a fitting way to honor Marsha, I was talking about it with Chelsea. She said to me, "Why don't they make a reading garden, Mom? Mrs. Fayne loved to read. The reading buddies can go to the garden and read together." So here, after a year and a half, we at long last have the reading garden that was born out of a young girl's admiration, one woman's love of reading, and because of the difference that one woman made in so many people's lives. This garden has come to be with the hard work of so many people dedicated to seeing that a part of Marsha Fayne will be with the Round Meadow community always. We invite you all at one time or another to truly honor Marsha and to come to this garden and read. Read that book you've always wanted to but never did. Or if you like to read fiction, try nonfiction or vice versa. If you don't think of yourself as much of a reader, you may surprise yourself. Have the courage to challenge yourself. The key is to read. But as you sit in the garden with your book, think upon the man on the shore and the starfish, and think about Marsha. As you begin to read, you may hear her voice faintly saying, "Made a difference to that one." Thank you.
Okay. Someone back to the school after being away for, a year and a half or so. One of Marsha's colleagues, Bobby Horowitz, a former Round Meadow teacher who was a close friend of Marsha, and I'm pleased that she's here to join us today, ready to share some thoughts with you. Well, this is a beautiful site. I walked over there and looked at it, and it's a beautiful tribute to Marsha. She would have loved it. I believe she's with us right now smiling. Are you, Marsha? I see you there. You know, The Secret Garden was her favorite book, and now she and you all have the old version of it. And where Renee got the invitation stationery, I'll never know, but leave it to Renee. We at Round Meadow all loved and respected Marsha. It is not difficult to praise the Marsha that the teachers all knew. She was a multifaceted person. She was generous, determined, persistent, professional, tenacious, a model. She was outspoken, compassionate, loyal, strong, both realistic and optimistic, inspirational, and inexorable to the end of her life. She had a love of life and lived it to the fullest every single day. She was a model for her kids, as one of her students just told you. She was disciplined and she expected them to be too, and the kids loved her for it. She took turns with having lunch with each and every one of her students. Marsha was a vibrant and energetic part of Round Meadow, and now Mrs. Fayne's garden will be here too. Not one day was she anything but a #1 teacher. We were all blown away by her courage, and I mean we were blown away by her courage. She humbled us without meaning to. Marsha was enthusiastic about reading in every way. It was a laugh riot when we were planning our reading groups. She adored reading aloud to her students, and she always did it with style, animation, and emotion. Once I went into her room, and there she was, sitting on a stool in front of her room, in her best teacher persona. And she wasn't feeling very well that day, but no one would ever know it. She was reading a holiday story to her students with enthusiasm and animation. I will always remember Marsha that way. It said everything about who she was as a person. The world is a better place because Marsha Fayne was here. She left a legacy to all of her students that she taught. She loved them. She protected them. She mothered them and disciplined them. She prodded them. She protected them and cared about them. With the teachers, she was our colleague. She was our friend, our comrade, and our hero. That is the past. This extraordinary place is the future, where Marsha will always be part of it. Of the future of generations of children and readers. The place is Marsha. This is one place. She is indelibly etched into our hearts and our minds.
The speaker is a very familiar face to many of you. I'd like to introduce Annette Schneiderman, who was reading buddies with Marsha Fayne.
Garden is dedicated to the memory of Marsha Fayne. Marsha was a loyal wife, a loving mother, and a good friend to me and to everyone on the staff, and an extraordinary teacher who was an exemplary model for children. She consistently motivated youngsters to explore and enjoy literature. And for many years, Marsha's fourth graders were study buddies with my kindergarten children, and they often read together in an outdoor setting, not really an attractive one. This reading garden would have brought Marsha a great deal of pride and pleasure. I know she would have selected that very spot as the ideal location, and she would have used the reading garden faithfully. We often met in that spot with the children, but of course it was just time. Let the garden remind us of a courageous and dedicated woman who loved children and education. Her memory in this reading garden will continue to inspire youngsters as well as teachers to read, to learn, and to relax.
Folks here? Ah, you are here. Oh, good. Sandy Pope is the president of the Los Virgenes Unified School District, and she had the good fortune of working with Marsha when she was a representative on the council. Thank you for coming.
When Renee called me to ask me to be here today, I thought, this is my birthday. It's too sad to be doing this on my birthday. And then I thought, it's Marsha, and there's nothing sad about Marsha's memory. In fact, it's a celebration for all of us. As a rep, Marsha was as dedicated to looking toward the future of teachers as she was for students. And there were times where I would be at home, come home at the end of the day, and the phone would ring, and it would be Marsha, and I'd think, oh, no, it's Marsha, there's another concern. But she was dedicated to children, teachers, and education, and never, ever put herself first. And I think if we can remember anything, and if her life is to mean anything to all of us, it is that celebration of learning. And when we think of Marsha, it's hard not to think about the importance of education and the dedication of the people to provide education for their children. And that is the uniting of teachers and parents in this district. And I think your tribute to Marsha here is just that kind of uniting. So in Marsha's memory, thank you, and good reading.
Sure. We'd like that. Is Susan Whitfield here? Carol? Want to come up? Oh, great. Carol Farrad and I had the good fortune of working together at another school, and when she came to Round Meadow, I said, I'll follow you someday, and I got to do that. Carol is our librarian in Round Meadow. You see, I still call it our, so it is ours, right? In fact, when she wasn't looking, I stole the book out of the library, The Secret Garden, but she trusted me. Is that why you're here? I've come for the book. Okay. So Carol would like to say a few words in behalf of our classified staff.
When I first arrived at Round Meadow, which was about 7, maybe 8 years ago, time flies when you're having fun. The first thing that hit me was how friendly everybody in this neighborhood was. Not a day went by that I didn't pull my car into the parking lot and somebody would honk and wave and say, hi, how are you? And if I was out shopping, people would wave, and I didn't know any of these people. I thought how sweet that was to be so kind to a stranger. Until somebody came up one day and said, hi, how are you doing? And I said, I'm fine, thank you. And she said, oh, I'm sorry, you're not Mrs. Fayne. Well, my hair was a lot more red than it was white back then, but we decided from that point on we basically were twins. And as we got to know each other a little better, realized how many other things we really had in common, not the least of which was our inborn love of reading, and also the feeling that we had that we wanted to pass that love on to anybody that we came in contact with, but most of all the children that we hear at this school. For that reason, I can't think of a more fitting memorial for Marsha than have this wonderful reading garden that we have here. I know I, for one, will be taking many groups out there to that garden to read. And as I was looking at it today at lunchtime, I was thinking it also looked like an awfully nice place to just sit and read at the end of the day. Preferably when all the kindergarten students have gone home. So I want to thank everybody for all the work that they have put into making this garden a possibility. And I know that it's something that would be held very dearly in Marsha's heart. Thank you. Carol, I'm glad you're here to do that. I guess it's time for the dedication. I'm not quite sure what you do at a dedication, but we dedicate. Okay, I'm ready to dedicate. Because Marsha was such an avid reader, the Round Meadow staff has ordered a concrete book with a pedestal on it. Right now you'll see a substitute, as I mentioned. It will arrive in about 6 weeks, and it has an inscription for Marsha's favorite book, The Secret Garden, by Frances Hodgson Burnett. As I was skimming through the book, I hate to say this, but I never read the book, but I skimmed it and really enjoyed it as I skimmed it. And the passage that's on the back of your program just jumped up at me. And our garden literally emerged out of nothing. And it was like magic. It was a vacant piece of land, often used, as was mentioned by Marsha, for an in-school field trip. And then suddenly, within three weeks, became a magical place, a restful place, and a peaceful place. Be a magical place for all to enjoy, and I am looking forward to being invited back in September so
so I can enjoy reading a story to all the Round Meadow students in the garden, one by one. Not quite. At this time, I would like to invite Linda McKindo and Marsha Woolley, who have prepared a song, an appropriate song for us, to almost end the program. Linda, Marsha,
When you walk up and down the hill. We really didn't prepare a song except the practice of
is it on? When it's off, it's on, just like I am. Oh. Okay, at this point, I would like to invite one of the members of the Saints family to come up. Ricky, would you kind of come up? Ricky would like to say a few words with you.
Very few, actually. Stephen Ruffing wrote, "Stories first heard at Mother's Knee are never wholly forgotten. A little spring that never quite dries up in our journey through scorching years." I think the same would be said for stories with the teachers. My mother loved reading. I grew up watching her read, and she passed that love on to me. She would sit on one end of the sofa reading her book, and I would sit on the other end. Her books were a little bigger than mine at that point. She read Exodus, I read Bobby Flayne. But she always made it seem like something special that we did together. In her classroom, she didn't just tell her students to read. She read with them and to them, experiencing the book with them. She was a teacher because she loved it. And to know that my mother was loved and respected by the teachers, parents, and students here is absolutely amazing. My family and I would like to thank you for honoring her this way.